Ever find yourself hitting that track package button a little too often? I know I do. But have you ever stopped and thought about the incredible journey that package takes to get to your doorstep?
It's easy to forget about the intricate world of shipping and logistics, but it's a system that keeps our global economy afloat.
Absolutely. And at the heart of it all is the ship planner, a role that's much more demanding and, frankly, way cooler than most people realize. So we're diving deep into this career path today, using this awesome ship planner career guide as our compass.
And hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll see why this role is so crucial to, well, pretty much everything.
Now, this guide is packed with insights,
Mhm.
but what really jumped out at me was the sheer variety of responsibilities in a ship planner's day-to-day. It's not just about cramming as many containers onto a ship as possible, though. I imagine that's a big part of it.
Oh, it definitely involves a bit of container Tetris,
Right.
but it goes way beyond that, minimizing that berth time, how long a ship spends docked at the port. That's where things get really strategic.
Because time is money, especially in the shipping world,
Exactly. Every minute a ship is idle at port translates to lost revenue, potential delays down the line.
which can ripple through the entire supply chain.
Exactly. And ultimately impact what we pay for goods. So these ship planners are juggling a lot. They're looking at the ship's schedule, coordinating with port authorities, factoring in weather conditions.
Weather. Wow, I hadn't even considered that.
Oh yeah, a storm can throw everything off course, literally.
That's incredible.
What?
So they've got to be adaptable, think on their feet. It's way more dynamic than I initially pictured.
You've got it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They're also involved in planning for maintenance, overhauls, making sure these massive vessels are in tip-top shape.
Which makes sense because a malfunctioning cargo ship is bad news for everyone.
You could say that again. It's like a city on water needing constant upkeep. And it's the ship planner who ensures that happens without throwing a wrench into global trade.
Okay, so we've established that this role is crucial. But what about the career path itself? Someone starting out, what does that trajectory look like?
So the Ship Planner Career Guide lays out 4 key stages: entry-level, junior, experienced, and senior. And what's fascinating is how the responsibilities evolve at each stage.
From what I gathered, it's not just about years on the job, but really demonstrating a deeper understanding of the industry at each level.
Absolutely. You move from more task-oriented work, like maybe managing cargo documentation or coordinating with local port services, to, as you gain experience, taking on more strategic roles. Think route optimization, negotiating contracts, even managing teams.
So there's a clear progression, which is something job seekers always want to see. It shows there's room to grow, take on more responsibility. But let's talk about the skills you need to climb that ladder. The functions and core abilities section was pretty eye-opening.
Because it's not always the skills you'd expect, right? I mean, obviously you need to understand maritime regulations, logistics, that kind of thing.
Right, the technical stuff.
Exactly. But the guide emphasizes critical thinking, reading comprehension, even active listening as essential skills.
Those seem pretty broad, though. Don't they apply to almost any job? How do they play out differently in the world of a ship planner? What makes them so crucial in this specific field?
Let's take critical thinking, for example. Imagine you're a ship planner and a major storm pops up, threatening the planned route. You've got a limited time to reassess, maybe reroute the ship, potentially offload some cargo at the nearest port. Decisions have to be made quickly, and they have huge financial implications.
That's a whole different ballgame than, say, troubleshooting a printer jam in an office.
Exactly. The stakes are higher, the variables more complex, and those decisions directly impact global trade. And then there's reading comprehension.
Okay, so beyond just reading emails and reports.
Think dense maritime regulations, technical specs for different vessels, contracts that can be incredibly detailed. A ship planner needs to not just read, but really understand and interpret that information accurately.
It's the difference between understanding the rules of the game and actually knowing how to play and win.
Now you're getting it. And finally, we have active listening. You might think, well, that's important for any job, and you'd be right. But in ship planning, you're the central hub. You're talking to port authorities, ship captains, customs officials, sometimes all at once.
Coordinating across time zones, languages.
Exactly. Miscommunication can lead to costly delays, safety risks, a whole domino effect of problems. Being able to truly listen, understand different perspectives, that's what sets apart a good ship planner from a great one.
That's like those soft skills we often talk about. They're not just nice to haves in this field, they're mission critical.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about having a well-rounded skill set. combining that technical expertise with those interpersonal skills that are essential in such a globalized, fast-paced industry.
So you want to be a ship planner. Better brush up on those communication and critical thinking skills alongside those maritime regulations. Now, how does one actually break into this field? Our guide mentions some interesting academic pathways.
You'd think it's a straight line from high school to a maritime studies degree, right?
Seems like the obvious route.
And while that's definitely one way to go, we're also seeing options like economics, operations research, even physics listed as valuable backgrounds.
That's so interesting. It's like the guide is saying, hey, even if you didn't grow up dreaming of container ships, there might be a path here for you based on your analytical or problem-solving skills. What I'm hearing is that a diverse skill set is actually a major asset in this field.
Exactly. A strong foundation in economics can equip you to understand market forces and global trade patterns, which is crucial for a ship planner. Operations research skills can be applied to optimizing complex logistics and shipping routes. And physics. Well, understanding the physics of buoyancy and weight distribution is essential when you're dealing with massive cargo vessels.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not just about knowing your ships. It's about having a well-rounded understanding of the forces that drive the shipping industry. And speaking of skills, we've got to talk about the certifications mentioned in these resources. Some of them seem pretty self-explanatory, like a maritime license, but then there's the International Ship and Port Facility Security Certification. Now that one sounds intense.
And for good reason. Remember, the world of shipping isn't just about efficiency, it's about security too. This certification, in particular, demonstrates your knowledge of international security protocols, ensuring the safe and secure transport of goods of vital concern in today's world.
So these certifications act as your passport to credibility in this industry. They prove to potential employers that you have the knowledge and skills to handle the complex demands of the job. But how does one actually find their footing in the maritime world? This is where RoleCatcher comes in, right?
Absolutely. What's so powerful about RoleCatcher is its AI-driven approach to job hunting. You've got the job board, of course, but it goes way beyond that. Their CV resume builder helps tailor your application to the specific role, highlighting the most relevant skills and experience. And then there's the interview prep section, which, as you know, is where a lot of people get tripped up.
Especially in a field like ship planning, where you might be interviewing with a tech-savvy recruiter one minute and a seasoned sea captain the next. You've got to be able to speak both languages, so to speak. How does RoleCatcher help bridge that gap?
That's where their AI truly shines. The system analyzes thousands of interview questions and responses, helping you anticipate what might be asked and craft strong, tailored answers. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket, guiding you through every step of the interview process.
So it's not just about finding the right jobs. It's about understanding how to position yourself as the ideal candidate, especially in a competitive field like ship planning.
Exactly. And this is where we start to see the real value of a platform like RoleCatcher. It's not just about throwing your resume into a black hole and hoping for the best. It's about using technology to your advantage, to stand out from the crowd and showcase your unique skills and qualifications.
It's like RoleCatcher is that seasoned first mate, guiding you through the choppy waters of the job search, making sure you're prepped and polished for any interview that comes your way. But let's not forget about the actual work itself. One thing that stuck out to me in the work environment section was the mention of long, potentially irregular hours.
Yeah, that's the reality of a field that, well, it literally never sleeps, right? I mean, global trade operates 24/7, and ship planners are the ones making sure those goods keep moving.
Which makes sense when you think about it. Ships don't just stop for the night. But what does that look like for someone in this role? Are we talking about, like, missing family dinners or getting urgent calls at 3 a.m.? Paint me a picture of the work-life balance.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's definitely a dynamic career path, no doubt about it, and it demands a certain level of dedication, flexibility. You might be celebrating a successful shipment one evening, and then, bam, you're dealing with a logistical crisis in a completely different time zone the next.
So it's not all smooth sailing then. There are definitely some sacrifices involved. But then again, there's that element of adventure too. I mean, the guy did mention that some ship planners even get to visit some pretty amazing ports around the world.
Absolutely. Now, not every ship planner gets to travel on the job, but there's definitely that sense of global connection. You're constantly interacting with people from different cultures. You're coordinating shipments across continents. You're playing a part in this truly global system.
It's not your typical desk job, that's for sure. It's like you're at the heart of this invisible network that keeps the world running.
Exactly. And that brings us back to something we touched on earlier, the importance of those, what do they call them? Soft skills. In a field as interconnected and fast-paced as ship planning, those skills become absolutely essential, not just for navigating the logistical challenges, but for handling those cultural differences, for navigating those complex communication scenarios.
It's like those skills act as your compass and your map, guiding you through all the complexities of the shipping industry.
Couldn't put it better myself. Just like a seasoned sailor relies on their compass and map, a successful ship planner relies on those interpersonal skills to chart their course, so to speak.
So, for anyone listening who's feeling intrigued by this whole world of ship planning, it sounds like it's really important to weigh the pros and cons. On one hand, you have this potentially high-impact career with incredible global reach. But on the other hand, it requires a certain level of commitment, adaptability. It might not be the right fit for everyone.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's not enough to just romanticize the ships on the horizon, right?
Mhm.
You've got to delve deeper, understand the realities of the job, and really honestly assess, does this align with my values, with my aspirations?
And that's where resources like RoleCatcher come in.
Yeah.
They provide those valuable insights into the industry, into potential career paths, even into interview preparation.
Absolutely. But beyond RoleCatcher, I'd also encourage everyone to check out resources like the Institute of Transportation Engineers and the International Road Federation. They offer a wealth of information about the transportation and logistics industry as a whole.
It's all about arming yourself with knowledge, right?
Yeah.
The more you understand about this industry, the better equipped you'll be to decide if it's the right path for you.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, that's what this deep dive has been all about, giving you the insights, the knowledge you need to navigate the exciting, challenging world of ship planning.
It's like we've pulled back the curtain on this whole other world, right? One that most of us take for granted. I mean, when I click buy now, I don't usually picture the intricate dance of logistics happening behind the scenes to get that package to me.
It's the invisible engine of global trade. And the ship planner, they're kind of like the conductors, making sure everything runs smoothly.
It's not just about logistics, is it? It's understanding global markets, navigating those complex regulations.
Oh, absolutely. It's a role that requires both a sharp mind and a global perspective, that's for sure.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the day-to-day tasks to the broader impact of this role. But now I'm curious, what really stood out to you from all of this?
That's a good question. I always find myself asking, what piques people's curiosity? Is it that fast-paced, ever-changing environment? Or maybe it's the potential to have a real impact on these global trade flows?
And maybe it's the allure of the open sea.
Haha, could be. But for some, it might be the chance to engage with different cultures, to contribute to this interconnected world we live in.
It's about finding that niche, that thing that clicks and makes you say, yeah, that's the path for me.
Exactly. And remember, this deep dive, it's just a starting point. We've only scratched the surface here.
Consider it your jumping off point.
Exactly. So dive into those resources we mentioned. RoleCatcher, the Institute of Transportation Engineers, the International Road Federation. Connect with people in the industry. And most importantly, never stop asking questions.
Because just like the vast ocean these ship planners navigate, this career path is all about exploration and discovery.
Well said. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll be hearing about your adventures in the exciting world of ship planning.
Until then, fair winds and following seas to you all. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.